Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining our current session of LinkedIn Live with Premier Talent Partners. This is our second monthly installment. The first one is always a candidate-centric topic. And I'm here, Natalie, our VP of Business Development, with our client-centric topic for the month. I'm really excited to have a guest speaker today. I don't know if it's guest speaker, but I invited Naomi. She's our Director of Talent. And as I mentioned in our last session last month, when we introduced HR in a Box, which was our brand new HR toolkit that we customized and curated for a lot of the small businesses and startups that we work with. And that HR in a Box tool really came from years and years of just growing pains for us internally, things that we were learning with and through our clients. And so we want to continue to dissect the toolkit. And we've decided for the next 6, months, we're going to go through each section. So today I've asked Naomi if she can join me in talking through the pre-employment toolkit section. So Naomi, do you want to introduce yourself and give us a little background on your time here at Premier? What do you do?
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Naomi. I've been with Premier for almost 9 years now. I actually started, it's so funny in full circle, as an admin on Natalie's team. I can remember interviewing with you so long ago. I'm now the Director of Talent, so I help keep our recruiters and talent team, which is all of our people that work with our clients and our talent population, happy, successful, supported. HR in a Box is a tool that we've been working on for a really long time and is an amazing resource for our clients. So super excited to be chatting with you guys about compliance, the most fun topic, but probably one of the most important ones. So super excited to dive into it with you guys.
Wonderful. Well, yes, I remember those days when you're just a little green bean, but now you're a boss lady and you have to deal with HR and compliance and pre-employment rules and responsibilities. So that's where we're going to dive in today. As you can see that I'm sharing on the screen is the pre-employment toolkit, and there are 4 functions or features, I guess I should say, of this toolkit. So we're going to go ahead and break each one of these apart. But the whole intention of the pre-employment section is really to help an organization understand HR best practices and how to create and stick with compliance, specifically at the pre-employment piece of the puzzle, right? We're thinking about the recruiting to employee life cycle. Some of the elements in this section of the toolkit, of course, can carry through the life cycle of an employee, but more specifically, we really wanted to help small businesses understand, okay, when I'm getting ready to start hiring, when I'm starting to ramp up, what should I have in place from an HR perspective? And how do I maintain compliance from an HR recruiting and talent acquisition perspective and process? So, Naomi, first and foremost, we're going to talk about the employee handbook. Why is this important? What is the meaning behind it? That's not even English. Behind it. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what an employee handbook is and what it means?
Certainly. So the checklist that we have for you guys is a way for you to make sure that you are creating structure and consistency for anybody that you're bringing on to your team. And it's the key to success of any organization, especially one that wants to grow rapidly. Not only is it important to have that structure for the people that you're bringing on, but for you internally to make sense of all the things that you have to do to prep for a new hire and the policies that you have to create. You're probably not even thinking about a smoking policy, right? But it's on there. Those are the sorts of things that you do need to create some sort of stance on. So this checklist is super awesome to make sure that you're including all of those into your internal policies.
Perfect. That's great. And parts of this checklist, you'll notice we provide sections on helping you appropriately classify employees. So what does it mean to classify a position, a new hire that you want to bring on board? When you're crafting those job descriptions and you start thinking about the roles and responsibilities, how do I classify this role from a legal perspective? And so this checklist helps you kind of think through some of the things of exempt versus non-exempt. So let's segue into that next section. What are those?
Yeah.
And what are the differences?
Yeah, at the basic level, the exemption is talking about overtime. So exempt, is this person exempt from overtime or not exempt from overtime? AKA, are they entitled to earn overtime hours or not earn overtime hours? And the classification is mostly determined by roles and responsibilities of that person. So you can break down their job description and from that, determine if they should receive overtime or not. With everything, there is always gray area. We even did a couple of these tests that we have here, these reassessments internally, to really dive into the different roles that we have and what they should be classified as. But it is definitely something you want to be careful that you are classifying people correctly, because it is something that can come back and bite you if you misclassify somebody, because essentially you can be shortchanging someone.
Perfect. Yep. This test section is really helpful, and it's a quick just self-assessment for yourself. Okay, are they going to be doing this, or is the salary going to be classified this way or this way? Duties, etc. So it's really a quick little litmus test. You can also find more information on government websites. You can Google it. But we try to make it clear and concise for you here. So the next section that we're going to jump into is when you think again about that hiring life cycle, right? We've started with, hey, we're a startup, we need to hire. Then we jumped into, all right, from a pre-employment perspective, what kind of rules, responsibilities do I need to put into an HR employment handbook that I can then start giving my new hires? Then I'm ready to start thinking about the roles that I want to hire for. So then we just talked about how to classify them. Now we're ready to actually start the talent acquisition process. We're ready to start posting the jobs. We're ready to start recruiting. So Naomi, what are some of the things that we really need to be mindful of in the job posting phases of the recruiting process?
I mean, the goal of posting a job is attracting talent that can perform the skills and duties that are required of that job, and nothing else at that point. You just want to stick to skills and experience. And the way you do that is by creating really specific language and avoiding anything that could be potentially discriminatory. And it seems super obvious, but you'd be surprised at how many job postings you'll come across and you're like, I don't know if they should have necessarily worded it that way. And so we have this really great don't say, do say example. And it gives you a couple of examples, but you can apply this to different areas that you would want to include into the job description as well. A really basic example that comes up a lot is must be a US citizen. What you're trying to get at, which is a totally fine request, is you want this person to live or be allowed to work in the States, because it can be kind of expensive to employ somebody. You're incurring different costs. Totally fine, but the way you want to word that is must be eligible to work within the US, or no sponsorship required, as opposed to must be a US citizen. They do mean two very different things. So there's a couple of different examples that we definitely encourage you guys to read through.
That's perfect. And these are some of those key areas that just become reoccurring no-nos that you see over and over and over in job postings. And specifically for a small business, it's just an innocent thing, right? Just because they haven't necessarily had the experience of hiring over and over, and or they don't have HR internally yet. So these are where we see a lot of our clients, or just small businesses in general, getting into sticky situations when they're posting on the World Wide Web.
Right.
So last but not least is one of the most apparent liability issues as part of the recruiting process is when it comes to the interviews. Here's where you're actually talking to and you're screening candidates. And sometimes, again, like Naomi was saying, what you're trying to ask isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's all in the context and the delivery. And this is where it becomes really sticky. So Naomi, can you walk us through some of the interview no-nos?
Yeah, definitely. And this is so hard for me because one of the main purposes of an interview is really getting to know someone, you know, not just their skills and experience. And it should feel really organic. And sometimes it's a really great conversation that you're having with somebody. But one thing to keep in mind is the interviewee's interpretation of that experience and the questions that you're asking and how they're taking them. A perfect example is I always want to know background, like where are you from? What's your story? You know, asking where are you from is actually a no-no. You really shouldn't be asking where somebody's from or where they're born or, your accent, like what is that? Those are all things that are, or can be perceived as discriminatory. But if you reframe that, like a perfect way to open up and how I open up most of my interviews is I'd love to hear a little bit more about you besides what's on your resume. I have your resume in front of me, like we'll go over that in a second, but tell me a little bit about yourself. That allows the individual to answer that in their own way. Maybe they will tell you where they're from. Maybe they won't. It just gives them more flexibility to take that question where they want. So we have a couple of different examples of sensitive topics that can come up, birthplace, your education, your age, your race, your citizenship. Take a look at those and maybe do like a check. Like, have I ever asked a question that maybe I could tweak and I should tweak? Because it's really important that the interviewee has a good experience in that conversation with you, just like you are having a good one with them.
And again, these could happen so innocently just because of lack of expertise. And, you know, if you're a new CEO and you've never ran a company before, and or you may have hired very infrequently, be very innocent to ask things in the wrong way, but it could be impactful to your business. But I've had experiences where I've even had experienced interviewers have boo-boo situations, and then that's when the candidate experience goes awry, and then you get those Glassdoor reviews, and then you look like a company who, oh my gosh, this, that, or the other. So the thing that I would like to have you take away from this section, not you, Naomi, of course you know this, but the rest of the world, is the importance of interviewer training. So as you start getting ready to hire a consultant or ask, you know, your neighborhood recruiting firm, such as Premier, hey, do you guys have any interviewing tips or training? Of course, here we have our HR in a Box guide, and I just posted the link to the link on our website, and you can download any of this stuff, but it might need to be taken a step further to actually put your hiring managers through some exercises and really have the educational background on it. So easier said than done, but it's something to think about. So those are all 4 of our sections, and very quick and concise in terms of the pre-employment and compliance section. What I really would like to leave everybody with is that this is a free resource. Go to our website, download the whole entire guide, take from it as you want, leave behind what you don't need. Everything can be printed. You can use it as a manual checklist, or it's just some study material that you can share with the rest of your organization. So we encourage you to use it as much as you need to, but the importance is really taking these steps before you start to hire. Of course, make sure you carry it through your hiring process, but if you are a small business or a new business, really be mindful of putting these practices in place before you hire. So that is what we'll leave you with today. Thank you, Naomi, for talking through this section. Now that you're a boss, you know all the right and wrong things to do.
I mean, I've been the person that said the innocent thing that came off the wrong way. So speaking from experience, it would have been so great if I had this toolkit to just say, oh yeah, yes, no, yes, no. So
exactly, but you learn as you go, and here we are, you know, trying to help anyone that we can. So thank you everybody for tuning in for this month's section of our LinkedIn Live for clients. And next month, I'm going to be inviting another guest that's going to talk us through this section I have here, which is part 2, the recruiting toolkit. So again, it's a cyclical guide, a cyclical HR in a box toolkit. So we've already talked about pre-employment. Now we're actually going to talk about the recruiting process and the things that you need to be mindful of throughout recruiting. So we look forward to seeing you next month with another guest, and thank you for joining. I put the link to the guide in the comment section, but if you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Bye.